Hello and welcome, this is Mikawai and I'm taking a very early look at Wells of Magic, the spiritual successor to Master of Magic. That's a pretty old game, I do hope you know the name just in case. Imagine Fantasy Civilization. That should be clear enough. Now, many games have used some elements taken from Master of Magic. Generally they were trying to do something completely new, and very often, that can fail. So Wells of Magic try to stay as close to the original as it is possible while at the same time making it a modern game. So it's not a remake, it's not a copy, but at the same time they are not trying to reinvent the wheel. As you can see, what I'm running is a development build, which actually means just that's an alpha. And it's not being sold at early access or something like that. And I think that's a pretty good decision because the game is really at an early stage. If you have backed their Kickstarter, you can get a key and access to it. Now, the game is done in Unity, and it's working fairly well. So from the technical standpoint, I haven't had any crashes. Some things just don't work, right? But no crashes, I can alt tab, so for an alpha that's pretty promising. This is the screen that welcomes you. As you can see, there are no options, but because it's Unity, you can change the resolution and basic quality settings in the standard Unity launcher. Now we have world map. This is the strategic game. Tutorial, which doesn't work for me. Arena, which is basically the battle system. And Sorcerer Lord Creator, this is the well, it's like the title says, is the creator of your lord, which basically influences many things connected to your faction. It's actually pretty interesting and at the same time not exactly functional because it allows you to choose many things that are not implemented yet. Now, the game has decent frame rate for me, but when I'm recording it's sometimes getting a little choppy, so there is definitely some compatibility problem with fraps. I don't know why, but if you see that, that's just because of the recording, right? So normally it doesn't happen. Now, okay, let me start the strategic portion. It's going to take a moment. So the world is randomly generated. Generally you get a landmass surrounded by some water. I've tried it a few times and once I actually got my first city on a small island. So definitely the randomness is there, although as you can see there are absolutely no settings. So at this moment you can't influence anything. Actually, the gameplay on the strategic level is also not fully done, so there's not much to play, but at least you can see what it is about and more or less how it's going to look. Okay, let's give it a moment to load. Alright, so here we are. At the top of the screen you have a list of resources. You have basically just three basic ones: gold, food, and mana. Now, when I first started it, I thought that the first one is timber and the second one is gold. Then I just know, well, tooltips helps, of course. And then I noted that these are coins and this is cut bread. Anyway, at the bottom you have, well, I'm guessing this is a notification. Clicking on this doesn't do anything, but actually this function can be accessed during using the buttons, so the magic panel does work. Now you have buttons that allow you to look at the magic panel, diplomacy, and other things like that. But in the middle you have the next thing that requires your attention. If you do if you go through all those things, you will be able to end the turn here. So armies, right? Let's have a click. As you can see, I have one army, 2 units, swordsmen and clerics. If I hover the cursor, I can see where I can get. So green means movement this turn. Yeah, like what I'm pointing at. This is 3 turns. That's mostly because of clerics. They are slow and they are slowing the whole army down. Now, how do I know that? So let's have a look here, the arming screen. And here I can check the attributes of the units. If I click on advanced, I can actually see the stats. And now this is an idea that I really like. The game is using D20 system. That's a system that originates from Dungeons and Dragons. It has been opened and it's used in other games. You've seen it in modified version in Knights of the Old Republic, in indie game Knights of the Chalice. So I do hope a large portion of the player base will know it. And you know, you start the game for the first time, but you see your unit strength 15, you know something about it already. So that's nice. Also, the system has been fairly tested, so the balancing should be easier thanks to that. Anyway, movement is important during battles, but also here on the strategy map as well. So that's my army. I'm going to move it somewhere. As you can see, the movement happens immediately. Now, that's the only army I have, right? So next the game wants me to have a look at my city. Let's do that. And here I can see the income produced by the city. As you can see, it's mostly producing food at the moment and some production. So production is not a global resource, but it's well done per city basis. Here are my citizens. Mostly food, like I said, because as you can see, all citizens are farmers. So if I go to buildings, basic building granary will take 34 turns. That's quite a lot. Let's move 2 citizens to craftsmen. As you can see, I can do the building in 20 turns. Let's start building it now. I can also produce units here, and similar to Civilization and other games that are from this genre, I can only produce one thing in one city. So they have to queue. Now, if you note, with extra craftsmen, I can turn up spearmen in just 2 turns. I'm not sure if this will change much, but if this is a conscious decision, it would mean that the game tries to be closer to, I don't know, combat-oriented games, right? So you're going to have a lot of fighting instead of very slowly building your empire and only then having battles. I think it's a good thing. So it's a turn-based game, and it's going to take a long time to do anything, surely. As you can see, well, as you could see, the movement on the strategy map is not fast, but at the same time, being able to produce armies quite fast is enough to have something to do. Now, the next thing suggested by the game is spell research. I can research one spell at a time, and actually, okay, from my little test I have done so far, this is not that time consuming. So compared to production, it's happening faster. Of course, balancing may change that, and I have no idea how final that is, but I can assume the game is going to be heavy when it comes to magic. Alright, and I think I mentioned that the recording sometimes slows the games up, and I think it actually happened as alright. Okay, so I have here the research panel, and let's go to spell research. Alright, or maybe just something happened and the screen doesn't want to open. You know, that's alright, finally it happened. Like I said, I'm mostly having problems while recording, not while playing the game itself. Anyway, so here you can see a selection of spells I can research at the moment. If you construct your lord, you can actually influence what schools of magic he has access to, so that will influence your spell selection. As you can see, the spells have 2. Okay, I don't think there are tooltips for that yet. They have 2 skills, and that's actually a very nice idea. I'm not sure if I understand it properly, so I'm sorry if I make some mistake, but basically the idea is that you don't just get schools by elements, like if you think of many games, fantasy strategy games, you usually have, you know, fire, water, earth, air, and if you specialize in fire, you can get all the spells connected to fire, uh, which is pretty versatile, but at the same time pretty simplistic. Here, now you have the elemental skills, but you also have other skills that combine with that, for example, distraction. So if you want to research fireball, you need fire and distraction. But at the same time, if in fire there are protection spells, you can't be proficient at them. So you need to look at different aspects and not just, you know, push all the points in one skill of magic and be perfect at it. It's not that simple, and I have to say it's very promising. Okay, now, alright, I didn't select any spell. Anyway, it's getting really slow again, so Fraps is not nice for this. Alright, um, that was the last thing the game wanted me to do, so yeah, we can end the turn. And the maps are pretty empty at the moment, so I could go exploring here, I could find some things, and that's wonderful, but there is not that much to do. There seems to be some AI player, although I haven't actually met it, so I'm just supposing from the messages. Um, but even if that's the case, then it's probably just, you know, one more player starting with also one city, so it would take quite a long time to get to some conflict. But while this portion of the game is definitely not ready, at least you can see what it is going to be and how it's going to work. Nothing groundbreaking, yeah. So if you're looking for a game that's going to be completely different and change the genre, that may not be it. But at the same time, it seems to be really well done, and well, unless the AI is brain dead or something, right? I can't see what could go wrong here. Alright, yeah, so I exited to the main menu and got some messages from the console with some errors. Okay, but no crashes. So like I said, early alpha, but still at least the stability is really promising. Now let me try to enter the Lord Creator. We'll see if it's possible. Yeah. So this is definitely just a testing ground at the moment. But you can at least see how it's going to work. So here you have, okay, of course I could change the name, right? It doesn't have to be Merlin. At the moment he's assigned to Dark Elves. As we can see, we have Draconians, Dwarves, Elves, Highmen, Insectoids, Orcs, Unhallowed, which I'm guessing from some things in game are basically undead. So a very nice, very interesting selection. At the moment, Highmen are here. I'm not sure if they're... I don't think actually that the units are all we will see, but at least there are some. There are some Orcs units also, but I could choose Elves, right? The game allows me to do that, but that's not going to do anything. Anyway, here are the schools of magic, if I'm using the proper terminology. And like I said, these are elements, but not only, right? So you have a wider selection, and you have to remember that they work in combinations. You have also something like perks with their cost, right? So these are the points you can spend. Mostly, with only one exception at the moment, these are positive things. But there is this. So if I choose to be an aesthetic rare, I can only stockpile 1000 gold, and for that I get 3 points. I find this idea very promising. I do hope when the game is ready we will have a very nice system with the ability of choosing positive and negative things and balancing and creating a very unique leader each time you try to play the game. Now the problem is I can't exit this, at least, okay, escape doesn't work and there is no button. I can press start, right, and the game will start, but because, okay, the abilities really don't work, so Dark Elves are not implemented, it wouldn't do much. So, let me just stop here. That's a very quick look, like I said. I'm going to try to write something about the game in more detail. It's at such an early stage, it's really hard to say how it will turn out, but I think it's showing a lot of promise, and it's showing that the developers, so Wasteland Interactive, have a lot of love for it, and they are taking it slowly, which is great. I've played all their previous games, all of them were very good, but sometimes when they were released there was not enough polish. So I think going rather slowly with this and not rushing the development is a great idea, and I do hope this game will be everything it promises to be. So basically a new Master of Magic, something that will allow you to relive the wonderful moments we had with that old game, with new interface, new graphics, and new additions. Things like D20 system, or these ideas about Schools of Magic. So this is not a remake, even at this stage we can see that. And definitely a game that it's worth keeping on your radar. So thank you very much for listening, and of course I'll be sure to talk about this game more when it gets at a more advanced stage. Thank you.